And welcome to Hero Power. This is episode 66, and I am your host, Avantes. And as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Zeroshio.
Hey gang, if you weren't here for the pre-show, I'm sorry.
And Versika.
Helping everybody working on dad bods.
There you go.
Dad bod for life.
Oh, all right, guys. Well,
See what you miss when you don't tune in early.
that's right. You should
That's
always
right.
tune in early. We've got a great show for you today. Got some news to talk about. We apparently had a tournament this past weekend we're going to talk about.
What?
I know.
Tournament. Oh,
Crazy
tournament
stuff.
news? Sweet.
But before we do any of that, as always, this show wouldn't be possible without support of viewers and listeners like you and our friends over at Viforce. Versika, take it away.
What an intro. No, actually, previously at our Tavern Hero qualifier, I was talking to one of our guests, and he was talking about going out and looking. Viforce was one of the places where he was shopping. He went out looking for his computer, looking to upgrade. And when he did, he saw a computer that looked like it was similar specs and was a little bit cheaper than what Viforce had to offer. So it had been my experience that normally doesn't happen. So I looked up the brand that he was talking about. And so I did a little bit of price shopping. I did a little bit of spec swapping. And as I started looking, and I started seeing little telltale signs of things that just didn't quite seem to line up for me. And so pulled up the website, started looking around. The cases looked nice. The peripherals looked nice. But when it got to the guts of the computer, I was noticing that the computer that I paid for, even though I modified it a little bit, it didn't even have the same stats as the computer that I paid for. And they were charging the next level price for the next level up Viforce machine price for that computer. And I'm just like, whoa. There's a bottleneck, and I'm just like, I think we might need to reconsider this. So I did a little bit of screenshotting, and I'm going to send it to the gamer that I was talking about. But before you do anything, talk to the guys at Viforce. They have a nice contact us page on the website. Go in there, send them an email, send them what you want to do with your computer, and they're going to send you a customized quote, but more than anything, it's not necessarily that financial quote. It's what they think you need as far as a machine. So they're not going to sell you on extra peripherals that you don't need. You tell them what you want to do, they're going to set you up with a machine that's going to get you there. Then, if you feel like you need to price shop, then you can shop those specs. And that's what I'm trying to say is shop the specs, not the price, because value is a combination of price plus performance. So find those specs, compare them to what you would get for those, what you'd pay for those specs with another company, and then you can go and talk to them again. But when I took the specs of the machine that I have, and I went out and found those prices at the place this guy said that he was going to be getting his machine, my specs outperformed the specs of the machine that I saw for $200 more than the machine that I paid for. So be careful. It's not always about the price.
And I'd like to also add real quick on the quote. I had a specific spec that I wanted for a category, and in the notes he specifically stated that what you listed does not require this, but putting this quote here upon your request. So he'll let you know, or Viforce will let you know if there's a specific spec that they think you're overstating for and overspending for, which is more important. So that right there means a lot to me.
All right. So, guys, no iTunes reviews this week, but we did get an email from our good friend and patron, Inked. And it reads, I just wanted to share something with everyone listening to the show. I started playing Hearthstone because I had a few friends who played, but also because Avantes, who produces my wrestling podcast, also does the Hero Power podcast. So I figured I'd see what it was all about. So since August, I have progressively bettered my play style and my rank. This past season, I hit the goal that I set for myself at the beginning of the season. Thanks to Avantes and the Hero Power gang, I will continue to improve and reach the level of play that I want to. Thank you. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Congratulations, Inked, on your finish this yesterday at the end of the season. I did see your screenshot when you showed everybody your chest in our patron Discord this morning.
That's right.
So
I missed it.
Hashtag show me your chest.
Yeah. So congratulations. That's awesome. And we are so glad to have you as not only a listener, but a patron, and glad that you're able to take something away from the show each week and progressively improve your playstyle. That's one of the main reasons we do this show. So, all right. Well, let's jump right into our news and discussion this week because, like I said earlier, apparently there was some kind of Hero Power Patron Invitational this past weekend. Do you guys remember this?
What?
I don't know.
I remember every minute of it. I am still underslept because of it.
We kind of had a famous moment.
Yes, we did.
And we'll talk about it. So
it caused some traction.
Yeah. So
on Reddit.
For those of you who are not aware, if you're not a patron, one of our benefits of patronage is every quarter we are going to hold a tournament. We're calling it the Hero Power Patron Invitational, and basically, it's our way of kind of giving back to you guys who support us. So, $5 a month as a patron guarantees you a place in the tournament. And we did 4 rounds of Swiss before breaking out into top 4. This was our first time ever running an online tournament. So, guys,
yes,
it was a learning experience for us as well, and we had a great time doing it. But I think we're going to take what we've learned and implement some small changes going into the next one. But we had a great time, and we want to throw a big congratulations out to our winners. In 3rd place, we had Ducharmeau. In 2nd place, we had Turtools. And our 1st place winner of the first Hero Power Patron Invitational was MaxxBoxx. So congratulations, guys. Now, I'm going to turn the discussion of highlights and opinions over to our casters from the weekend, Zeroshio and Versika. Gentlemen, take it away.
I'll chime in first. It was a pretty boring set of games. Everybody played the same decks and no highlights. Just kidding. We had amazing players playing amazing decks, and we had some crazy plays. First off, Turtools is just bringing decks I ain't seen since 1989. Back in the day, his stuff was, he had cards in there just threw everybody off. It was amazing. I had so much fun watching the innovative decks and gameplay of a lot of our players. And of course, MaxxBoxx had some clutch plays, some that were very, very extremely
fortunate
skill-based, and others that were even more skill-based. By skill, I mean RNG. Though, and we'll talk about this more here shortly, those RNG moments were very well thought out, and he played to his outs. And we know one person that plays to his outs, that's Pavel, and he's our world champion. So maybe Max could eventually get on the pro scene and take home a championship this year. Of course, I'm talking about the most important championship. That's the Hero Power Championship at the end of the year. So we'll just have to see. Oh, what are your highlights and thoughts, Versika, before we get into the major Do you want to talk about the major RNG moment?
Sure, that's fine. Because I mean, we're going to talk about it anyway. I might as well lead it in. But I had a great time. It was long. I'll say this.
Yes.
You guys are machines, because there was times when we were asking for a break when in reality we were like, come on, take a break. You're like, no, let's go. Let's keep going. I'm just, okay. So you got to, everybody got to be treated to me eating on stream. That was, I'm sure, lovely for everybody. We finished
Treated
up.
Me
We pulled out
solo
our,
casting. That was fun.
we pulled out our catheters at the end of the day, and we're just like, whoo. No, just kidding. There were times though I was just like, come on, we gotta switch. We gotta go.
He's just kidding. Catheters are still in.
Water under the bridge, literally.
No, we
No, you got the joke now.
we had a good time, and it is something that really go look forward to do. Yeah. So yeah, we had mashed potatoes, we had gravy, we had it all. You guys had it all if you watch this. And speaking of having it all, we got to see probably one of my favorite plays
Ever.
It
the
was
history
fantastic.
of Hearthstone.
So if you've not watched the VOD by now, you're probably living under a rock. If not, you can check us out at Twitter, Hero Power. We got all that stuff on our show notes. So check out our Hero Power Twitter feed. You're going to find on there, you're going to find a clip. And in that clip is going to be the play that we're talking about. And it was MaxxBoxx playing against Nibble Swap. It was Reno Mage versus Reno Lock. And Nibble Swap plays Jiraxis. Looks like Max is dead in the water. In fact, Zeroshio was getting ready to just go ahead and update the score, and we had both said that there was pretty much nothing that he could draw. Well, we were wrong.
Very wrong.
So he lays out the Acolyte of Pain, Fire Blasted, draws a card, gets Cabal Courier. Cabal Couriers into Sacrificial Pack on the Jiraxis. It was just like our eyes got big. We both kind of sit back in our chairs. We're like, what just happened? Well, they cut it out.
I almost fell out of my chair. Okay, there was no sitting back in my chair. I almost fell out of my chair. And you glossed over it so quickly. The thing to me was he called all couriers. Okay, and I'm thinking after you've Acolyte and you've used your hero power, and now you've called all courier, you have 2 mana left. There is nothing in the world for 2 mana that can win you this game.
You were wrong.
And he draws Sacrificial Pack. Someone on Reddit actually did the math that it was a 1.38% chance for that sequence to happen.
Yeah. So if you keep your score at home, folks, round that decimal point up, and it's 1.
That is nuts.
Yep.
But so it was fun, and it was funny because we put that out there. I went to bed. We had 215 views. So I wake up the next morning, and we have almost 1,200 views. I'm like, wow, that exploded overnight. So Avantes comes over 2 hours later. I've had my coffee. I'm up and going. He comes over, and then he tells me we're at 5,000 views. I was like, okay, this is escalating quickly. Where is this going to stop? So I don't even know the final number because I just lost track of it. But it was crazy how many people were watching that and commenting on it, and it was fun. And that was, I would guess, sort of say the highlight play of the tournament, but it was by far the craziest moment on stream. But as far as like great and unusual plays, it was just one of many. And that was one of the things Roche was talking about. I was so impressed with the ingenuity that went into most of the decks. You didn't see the same decks that we saw at the Tavern Hero qualifier. It wasn't the same tired decks over and over that we've been seeing on ladder. And you come in and this guy bans Shaman and this guy bans Shaman, and you play Patches Pirate or Patches Warrior, Patches Shaman, and then some other ladder deck that you brought in some kind of mirror. It was truly showed true ingenuity. there were kind of wonky choices, but it was funny because we would see the choice where we're like, oh, but okay, I kind of see where that line is going, and then they would follow that line, and it would just be like, oh, okay, solid play, okay, we get what you're going, and you could tell that some of the more seasoned competitors were kind of taken off guard by it, and I thought that was probably some of the most fun is when those unusual cards came down or an unusual line of play happened, and you could almost see the hesitation on the other side. You were just like, okay, I see what he did there. And like the opponent, you could tell the opponent was just like, what did he just do?
Yeah.
What game were we playing? So it was great. It was fun, and I can't wait for the next one.
We saw some great plays. We also saw some plays that were questionable or possibly misplays, but the recovery level of those players to then, okay, I made a call and I made a bad read, and I can change my way of my playing and come back in the matchup. There was no just blowout matches, at least none that we cast. All the matches, majority of the ones that we streamed were 5-game matches. It was just amazing, and I also gotta give it to our patrons. They were very communicative with us. There was no real complaints about the way we were running things. They were very good at communicating with each other. A couple of them actually sat in Discord and talked to each other between matches or during matches and kind of trash talked each other a little bit here and there. And I like to see that level of sportsmanship and just game ability of our players, just to have such a great attitude. We had some things on the production side that were very minor that I could see. I don't think we had any complaints of anything major for the tournament, but a couple small overlay things that we're going to change for next time, and I can't wait for the next tournament.
So I will say this: you and I had each other to kind of play off of, and when it first started, I thought Avantes was going to have the easy job, and it was going to be us trying to keep up with all the plays. And while it was difficult, because like I said, these were not typical meta decks, we did have to do some thinking. In the end, I think Avantes did the work of 3 men on the other side. So I think next time we may be bringing in some help because that man was tired.
If we look at our past accomplishments in running prelims and other side tournaments and THQs, the Tavern Hero qualifiers and Tavern Hero championships, the one constant is Avantes is a workhorse. We joke, we kid, we mess with him a lot. We always say, oh, it's no big deal, we'll just have Avantes do it. But when it comes down to it, he's the hardest working member of Hero Power, in my opinion. Maybe not the best looking, but he is the hardest working. And we would not be able to accomplish what we did this past Saturday without him.
If you think it's easy to run an online tournament, you are wrong.
Because while we were casting, he was communicating with all the players. He was communicating with us via text through Discord. He was communicating also with us because we were on a delay about things that were being said in chat that we could maybe comment on and so forth because we didn't have the time to watch it. At the same time, he was working all the production side, making sure his mic was muted at certain times so he could speak to the players and making sure that all the production stuff were lined up.
This game was
amazing.
Streaming live, and he was keeping track of this game because he needed to know when it was finished, and he was keeping track of this game so they knew when it was finished. And all of that.
It was fun for me.
By himself.
It was fun for me.
Though.
I enjoy doing that kind of stuff, and Hero Power and Hearthstone is a passion for me. It's not, yes, we started this as a hobby, but it's always been a passion for me. I've always enjoyed it. I've always loved doing it, and I look forward to doing more of these in the future. Yes, I may try to recruit somebody to help me on the backside of things while you guys are casting the next event. But, hey, we'll see. Whatever.
Riv's out there.
I believe...
I'm going to throw Riv under the bus. Riv's out there. We got to give him a call.
Yeah, I think... when I went over and told Versika about, me possibly finding somebody to help, his youngest daughter was like, "There's 3 children you can inscript into slavery." I'm like, yes! She gets it. She gets it.
I will say my highlight of the weekend of the tournament was just before we were live. Versika's daughter laying behind his computer chair, and he looks at her and says, "Tell everybody hi," and she gets this deer in headlights look and just slinks off camera.
She just melts.
That was the cutest thing in the world.
All right, so next tournament will be the final date has yet to be set. It'll probably be towards the end of April or May, somewhere in that time frame. We'll let you guys know. We're waiting on, what we're really waiting on is Blizzard to release the spring HCT schedule. Once we have that in our hands, we can schedule the next Hero Power tournament.
Yeah. And we'll lock down that date as soon as we can so that you guys can make the appropriate plans. But
correct.
We need to make sure that it doesn't coincide with one of the other dates, or that it doesn't get in the way of the Tavern Hero qualifiers that we're going to need to run during those 2 months.
Yeah.
And possibly working around release dates, because we don't want to throw a tournament and then have a release date that following weekend, which might make the tournament more exciting.
Yeah.
So that's also, there's a lot of information that we need to absorb before we do that, but we will make sure there is a tournament within the second quarter.
All right. Enough about us. Let's talk about Ben Brodes. So, well, that's what Zeroshio's note in the show note says. Ben Brodes, more informative than ever. All capital letters. So, Zeroshio, take it away.
Basically, it's a lot of the same we talked about last week, but the reason it's to be noted is because he not only has gone out and done a couple interviews with PC Gamer and made a couple comments on Reddit, he has continued those interviews. And by I say he, Ben Brodes, there's been a couple by himself and a few of the other members of Team 5. But he's been on Twitter, he's been on PC Gamer, he's been on Polygon, he's been on Reddit, which is not uncommon because he commonly responds to Reddit threads. But he's actually created brand new Reddit threads talking about the development process and all that kind of stuff. The important thing to note here is he's communicating, and the whole team is communicating, because they want feedback, they want feelings about the game, they want to make the game better. And right now it's kind of in that, I don't want to say stale, because I don't think the meta is stale, but it's in a transition that people are ready for standard to change. And because of that, they want to make sure that everything they do with the new standard changing is what we want to have happen. The big question I have is, all this communication good, or is there such thing as too much information? What do you guys think? Versika?
I like the attempt at transparency. And they should be able to give us this information. We should be able to process it, and we should be able to handle it like proper, mature gamers. I'm not
Reddit,
sure.
is what you're saying.
I'm not sure that right now is the best time to be giving us too much information. And the reason why I'm saying that is you've got a new set that's coming out soon. It is now closer to us than it is further away. So before you go out saying that changes might need to be made, I think it's prudent to see what the new set is going to do to the meta. So that way, if it changes, you don't have people complaining because the changes you talked might need to happen 2 months before aren't happening. Because what can happen is people can get zeroed in on that change and not be happy until that change is made, when you could be fixing that change indirectly by the addition of a couple of cards here and there.
Okay. What do you think, Avani?
So, I think Viforce Gaming in chat makes a good point. There's certainly such a thing as too much information, because honestly, people don't really know what they want. And, you're going to have half the community out there screaming that no, taking away, making changes like this is going to ruin it. But then you've got another half, and we were talking about this before the show. You've got another half of the community right now that is, including some pros, that are really upset with the meta at the moment. And they want to see changes enacted immediately. I think it's good to a point that Brode is out there giving us this information, because when he's not, you have people screaming that Team 5 doesn't talk to us. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have to wait. Ultimately it's not up to us. It's up to Blizzard. And, there has been more and more interviews, it seems like, in the last 2 months than we've had in the previous 6 months. But, like you said, I think they're gearing up to prepare us for the transition of these sets rotating out and the new set coming in. We won't know until it happens, and we'll have to keep an eye and see how many more interviews they do between now and then. But
yeah, I mean, I agree. I do think they should be maybe more selective on what information they give. I know in the Polygon interview, he mentioned that patches at one point during the development cycle was a dragon whelp that did the exact same effect, 1 mana, 1/1 with charge, and came into play when a dragon came into play. And a lot of players are throwing their arms up. Why did you not do that? You could have left Small Time Buccaneer the way it was, made that obviously the fastest dragon that could have that effect is a 2/2, a 2-mana 3/2 in the form of Fairy Dragon.
Unless you were playing Dragon Whelp.
Yeah.
Well, you could with Dragon. Yeah, I guess with Dragon Whelp, that's a possibility.
But I mean,
a lot of people were saying that
Priest, so that's a slow deck anyway.
So, and I'm thinking more of a neutral minion that would do that.
So, our chat is chiming in on this right now, and I want to make sure they get heard. Matt at Arms says he can't remember when the voices in the community have ever really loved a meta, and he's right. There's always the people that dislike the meta are always the loudest. So, the ones that enjoy it are just being quiet and playing. The ones that don't like it are always going to be the ones that you hear from.
Yes.
So let me throw something out here real quick. When was the last time you heard people complain about a meta that wasn't aggro-centric? Because when was the last time we had a meta that wasn't aggro-centric?
Well, I mean, there has been some complaint during this cycle of Reno.
When everything was mid-range shaman about 8 months ago.
That's true too. But what was that mid-range shaman doing early? It was aggro early and then finishing with Thunderbluff Valiant.
Mysterious Challenger, Grim Patron, OTK Warrior.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm asking.
I mean, there has been non-aggro centric decks that strangled the meta. And this is kind of my point in the whole thing of a collectible card game, whether it's digital or whatnot. There will always be the best class, there will always be the worst class, and there will always be the strongest deck and the weakest deck. Every cycle, there's always one class that doesn't get played, sometimes two, and there's always one or two classes that always get played. Right now, it's Shaman, Warrior, and kind of Rogue is in there. I like this meta because there's actually a few other competitive class decks and archetypes in Warlock, in Priest, and even in Druid. Previous metas, there's really only been the tight 3 classes and very tight archetypes within those classes. I like this meta. I just think that the pirate package, and I don't want to say patches because he's only part of it, the pirate package, because it's in so many decks, it seems oppressive.
Yeah, so Cold and Ugly in chat says, in my opinion, I think small time Buccaneer is the main problem right now. And we've talked about this a couple of times on past episodes, but I think we're all three in agreement that patches isn't really the problem because, like Zeroshio said in the pre show, if patches had been the problem, then why hasn't Stone Tusk Boar been a problem? But the fact that 1 mana, 1/2 in small time buck can pull patches out of the deck, giving you that board tempo. Of course, I mean, it's not just small time Buccaneer. Any pirate can pull patches out. But
Yeah.
small time Buccaneer is so strong with a weapon. And right now, warriors have a crap ton of weapons. Shamans have some really powerful weapons right now. Rogues always have a weapon. There's never a time they don't. So that synergy is really the problem right now. Versika, you look like your head's about to explode from thought.
No, I'm just. I can't remember a time since I've been playing Hearthstone where you had 8 of the 9 classes had viable builds.
It's been a while.
Right now, 8 of the 9 classes have viable builds. The problem...
Paladin's questionable, but I see what you're saying.
Anything can happen.
Yeah. That's not questionable. Anything's a good deck.
After that leaves, Paladin is going to need some help out of this current expansion. So, I guess, here's my question. Jade has, for the most part, made a viable Shaman deck without pirates at all. You have a viable miracle version of Rogue right now, which is pretty much always going to be around. Some form of miracle. As long as you have Gadgets and Auctioneer, there's going to be some form of miracle. And Van Cleef is really designed to go with that, so I don't think that's going away anytime soon. And then, with Druid, you have a ramp Druid, and then you have a Jade Druid, which is sort of a ramp mid-rangey Druid, but you actually kind of have 2 viable Druid builds right now. So then you go down the Cabal list. You've got Reno Mage, Reno Lock, then you have Reno Priest and Dragon Priest.
And Reno Dragon Priest. And Combo Priest. There's actually Priest is in a good spot right now.
Right, so there's 2 of the factions from Gadget Zan where the card design worked as they wanted it. You have viable builds using the cards that were designed for their specific factions. But the meta is so fast that the Grimy Goons concept can't get a foothold. So what you have in Grimy Goons is you got Paladin and Warrior, which have gone back to a more classic card-centric build for both of them, and you've got some expansion cards. With Warrior, you've got the Pirate package, and with Paladin, you've got the Murloc package. So for the first time since I can remember, out of 9 classes, you have 8 viable classes that you can play in the meta. And that's a good thing. The problem is that out of those 9 classes, and out of what I'm going to go ahead and say is somewhere around 12 to 13 viable decks, people are mostly playing 2 or 3 of those. The bulk of what you face on the ladder is some variant of those 3 or 4 decks.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that is where I think the misconception, or I will say the appearance of what is happening, doesn't line up with the numbers that Team 5 is giving us, because Team 5 is taking a snapshot of all the meta, where most people tend to concentrate their games in a particular 5 to 6 level range in the meta.
Yeah.
So that's why it looks like every time you're playing against the Pirate package. Every time you're playing against another aggro shaman. I watched Raynad today, no joke. Before this show, he was the most depressed I think I've ever seen that man. He built a control warrior, which has a viable build in this meta, and queued into 4 straight Jade Druids.
Mm-hmm.
And see, here's the best thing on this, and this is my point about in every card game, you're going to have a period of time where you have the best decks and the worst decks. And I find it funny that Reynad is so depressed and salty right now because of the meta, where his company, Tempo Storm, pretty much dictates what people play on a ladder right now. Tempo Storm is one of the top-rated meta reports, and they put out a report that says these are your top tier 1 decks, which usually consist of 3 to 4 decks, and all of those decks have the pirate package. So he's helping the problem, and I understand where it's a community and there's people that drive that, and it's not just him. But if our top end players are making it a point to go out and tell everybody, hey, this is winning for me, you should play this, and then they get mad because you're playing the decks they suggested you to play, then I don't see that helping the situation. And I like the meta reports, and I appreciate the meta reports, but a lot of times I use those meta reports to find out what to counter, not what to play. But most players were going to net deck and find out, well, okay, here's the exact list, and that's what I'm going to play on the ladder.
I will say this. I watch a lot of streams in the afternoons when I get home, so I end up watching a lot of NA streams, and then in the mornings, I have to get up really early for work. So while I'm getting ready, I usually turn on Tice. He's about the only EU streamer streaming at the time that I'm looking. And while I'm getting ready, one of the things I've noticed is the numbers are down. And when I say that the numbers are down, I'm saying that they're down drastically enough for me to notice. I mean, I'm talking
way down.
I'm talking like thousands of viewers down from what they were just a month ago. And while the numbers aren't saying, hey, the pirate package is so much of the meta, I think the perception is that it is. And I think people are tired of seeing it. And so as a result, I don't think they're tuning in. I don't think they're watching. And Twitch just re-signed a lot of these guys. I mean, these contracts are based on getting viewership in. And if these guys can't get viewership in, they're going to go to a game where they can get viewership.
I'll tell you now. On that point.
Hold on. Before I forget where I'm going with it. And I kind of already did. Thanks.
That's my job.
I'm just kidding. Whether they like it or not, the meta has staled in the public perception. Whether the numbers back it up or not is a completely different story, and I think that's why Ben Brodes and Team 5, they're trying to get out ahead of this. They're trying to give us the information of how the development process works so that we know, hey, we can't make a knee-jerk reaction change. We have to evaluate what's given to us. But I think what they need to be taking from the information that we are giving them is that you don't need to sit on this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you saw what happened with Heroes of the Storm when the meta perception changed and people felt like it wasn't fair anymore, or that they were seeing the same combination of characters over and over and over. Sponsors started bailing, pros started bailing. The whole scene has had to have a major rework. YOG affected sponsorships in Hearthstone already. That was just earlier in 2016, less than a year ago. You can't afford Small Time Buccaneer or this pirate package to affect the perception of the game again, or you're going to be fighting the exact same fight 1 year later. And I don't think that's where Hearthstone needs to be.
Yeah, and my point on that you brought up, the one real thing that sticks out to me is I watch Twitch regularly throughout the day, and I watch Twitch throughout the day, and I noticed that Hearthstone has dropped down from being the 2 and 3 spot down to like 5 and 6. But then when I look at Hearthstone as a whole, I'm seeing some really interesting numbers for relatively unknown streamers. And the main reason I'm seeing it, I believe, is because their headline says something like breaking the meta or no more shaman. or no more Shaman Stone, or trying out a crazy Paladin deck, or Grimy Goons can work. Some kind of hook that says, "Hey, I'm not playing one of the top tier 3 or 4 decks, and I'm legend." I think one of them was a top 100 legend at the end of the month last week. Top 100 legend with Paladin, and they're getting a lot of views because people want another option. They want to see something else. And then I look at some of these tournaments that are out there right now that are more recent, the Trinity Series and these collegiate tournaments, and you're seeing Hunter being played. You're seeing Paladin being played. You're seeing different variety of deck. You're even seeing Zoo Warlock make a resurgence. So I think that while I've made it clear that I think the pro players have pigeonholed us into these decks, I think they're also trying at the same time to make it better. And it's just going to be, time's going to tell. And I think this communication with Ben Brodes is going to help.
Well, I'll say this. Monday night, I had my stream, took a break after having a couple of successes, and then come back in and lost 6 straight games. And I lost it to decks that I either have never seen before or that I haven't seen in a very long time. The decks that I had prepared to ladder with were based on the meta that I had been seeing. I didn't have anything ready to combat this meta, and I think that's part of the problem, is you can't build just a solid deck anymore. If you really want to climb, you have to either have a strong meta deck or you have to have a strong counter meta deck. You can't just play a good deck and expect to climb the ladder anymore. It's almost, you're forced to polarize in one direction or the other. So if what I saw on Monday night is the trend and people are tired of that and they're really reaching out and exploring, then we could see a real renaissance in February getting ready coming into this next expansion. So it's not all doom and gloom. It's don't lose hope. This is still very viable. Like I said, 7 classes truly viable, and then the Anyfin Paladin is going to really go away once this next expansion hits. But I don't see the other classes really going anywhere. I think Reno Lock will turn back into Handlock. I think Reno Mage, I think you're going to see that turn back into Freeze Mage. I really don't see a huge shift. I think Dragon Priest is still going to be around. I don't even think it's going to affect Shaman, Druid, or Rogue at all. So I think the only real impacted class is going to be Paladin. And hopefully this new set gives Grimy Goons a little bit of help and maybe makes that a viable mechanic so that it can compete. But still, you're Blizzard. You've divided the classes into 3 subsections. 2 out of your 3 subsections took hold and are really controlling the meta. I think that's a win for them.
I'm kind of curious about your comment about Shaman, because won't they lose Totem Golem, Flame Wreath Faceless, and Tunnel Trog?
They do not lose Flame Wreath Faceless, and Tunnel Trog in a lot of ways is kind of rotated out of the meta. So really what they're going to lose is Totem Golem. And what that will do is that will bring Shaman more in line with getting beaten early by aggro classes.
Yeah.
Because now they no longer have anything that can
They'll be truly mid-range.
Right. And that's the problem. I feel like that is where aggro kind of I think that's where I don't like it so much, is because there's never any real punishment for playing aggro. If you play an aggro deck and you lose, it's because you probably overreached. You probably either went too wide or you did something too early. But for the most part, you should have such a decided advantage playing aggro by turn 4 or 5 in this meta that you should never lose a game past turn 8, because you should never make it to turn 8.
Yeah.
I think if they really want to balance it
I
out,
have my disagreements on that. But
and we're gonna have to cut it. We're gonna have to cut this conversation. We could go all night, but
let me finish my thought real quick.
All right.
This next set needs, for the health of the game, this set needs to have neutral cards that can help any class combat aggro. For example, Unstable Ghoul from Naxxramas was a great example of a card that you could play early that would help. Imagine if Unstable Ghoul was in this meta right now. Would patches be that big a problem?
No.
Probably, I would say no. Yeah, you're right. But here's the thing. It brings up debate. Patch is not the problem. I think if Small Time Buccaneer was a 1/1 with the same effect, it would be just as effective as South Sea Deckhand is now. If I see a South Sea Deckhand come out with a weapon, I'm less worried than if I see a Small Time Buccaneer come out with a weapon.
Yeah,
I think it's the 2-body for 1 man.
We definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on this subject. So please take this week, formulate your thoughts, send us an email at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think, and we'll talk about it next week on the show.
Yes.
So that will bring us to our next topic, which is this week's Tavern Brawl. And this week's Tavern Brawl, I think we touched on it just a little bit briefly last week because they announced it so early. It is the Wintervale gift exchange. So
we didn't talk about it because it didn't get released until I think it was Friday.
Oh, okay. So this week's is the gift exchange. So Great Father Winter is dropping crates on the battlefield. Get a gift each time you smash your opponent's crate or your own. So this is a redo of the 2015 December Tavern Brawl, where you got the Wintervale Wreath card back. So, what does that mean for people who already have it? If you already have the card back, you get a standard pack, a standard classic pack, like you normally would. If you don't, it gives players who started maybe after that a chance to earn this exclusive card back, which I think is really cool for new players and for experienced players.
Yep. I haven't done it yet, but I'm not in a big hurry. I'll do it sometime this week.
Okay. Rasika, you had a chance to do it yet this week?
I did. I'm actually salty about 2 things on this one. If you're going to give people the chance to get 1 card back,
hang on.
that missed it.
Oh, my salty GIF isn't working. All right, go ahead.
Yay. If you're going to give people the chance to earn 1 card back that they missed, you need to give them the chance to earn any of the card backs that they missed.
And that's a debate that's been going on. They actually did open up the Taronda card back to, I think did we talk about this last week, I think?
Yeah, to the other
to China that didn't have the offer. I think this may be an effort to eventually do that. I think you're going to see some of the seasonal stuff, the Valentine's Day one that's probably going to be offered. I think this is a start of that. I just wouldn't expect it all at one time.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so. The other thing was I queued in. Let's see. I got home right at 4:30. No, I'm sorry. I did this before. So when I got home, I actually got home a little early today, and so I queued in 4 straight aggro pirate warriors. So what I finally started doing was if I got a warrior, a warrior or shaman, I just conceded, and I went like that until I got a class. Do you want to know how many classes I went in before I actually got a class that wasn't warrior or shaman?
What?
A lot.
Almost 20. I went 19 classes before I queued into something that wasn't warrior or shaman.
So
and
that's just there's no place for that in this Tavern Brawl. There's no fun in it. So
yeah.
If you haven't done this Tavern Brawl again, I recommend waiting till like Friday or Saturday.
And we've had this problem before.
Yeah. My one match I played today to get my pack was against a mage. And I don't really know what he was playing because I was playing the meme warlock that's built specifically for this Tavern Brawl, where you just take all the gifts every turn and your opponent never gets any. And so it was I just kept redeeming my gifts and getting like 1 and 2 mana AoE spells and just controlled the board the whole time. I'm sure he had no fun playing against me. So...
But at least you made a deck designed for this Tavern Brawl instead of just playing a meta deck that's currently a ladder meta deck and just worrying about nothing but winning the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that brings us to the last thing before we talk about our deck of the week. Is it's the first Wednesday of the month.
It's the first of the month.
So
No?
if you don't know what that
Okay.
means it's time for our patron giveaway. So if you are a
No.
$5 or more patron each month, we give away a $20 Battle.net gift card just for being a patron. The more you are a patron, the more chances you get to win. So if you're a $10 winner, you get 2 entries. If you're a $20 patron, you get 4 entries, so on and so forth. So let's draw this month's winner, gentlemen.
There's already a prediction in chat. It's going to be Max. It's always Max.
It could be. This month's winner is... Congratulations to Kindfish.
Oh,
Kindfish
awesome.
is our winner this month. So, Versika will be reaching out to you in the next day or so with your code.
Yep.
That's awesome. I'm very excited. All right. So, let's talk about this week's deck. This week, we are actually showing one of the decks that our patron tournament winner, MaxxBoxx, brought to the Invitational. This is his Shaku Rogue. So I'm going to do a quick rundown of the cards in the deck, and then I'm going to turn it over to Versika to kind of talk about how the deck plays. So the deck is 2 backstabs, 1 counterfeit coin, 2 preparations, 2 cold bloods, Patches the Pirate, 2 small-time buccaneers, 2 swashbucklers, Blood Mage Thalnos, 2 eviscerates, 2 saps, Edwin Van Cleef, 2 Fan of Knives, Shaku the Collector, 2 SI7 agents, 2 Tomb Pillagers, 2 Azure Drakes, Leroy Jenkins, and of course, the Rogue staple, 2 Gadget Zan Auctioneers. All right, Versika, take it away.
So 2 things before we start really working this deck list. Number 1, after we spent the entire show bashing Small Time Buccaneer and Patches, yes, we are playing a deck with Small Time Buccaneer and Patches because, well,
meta.
everyone else
Because meta.
One of the things that we strive to do on this show is to give you viable ladder decks, and this is a viable ladder deck. That leads me into my second point. This is the first show that we have done in a long time that has actually happened on the first day of a new season. So be prepared before we go into this today that there is no telling what we are going to see. So it's going to be a wild ride, I have a feeling. Unless it's Patches. And then, well.
So it's just going to be like our tournament this weekend for the first invitational of the patron tournament. You never know what you're going to see.
It really is. All right, so let's start with the obvious. This deck does run Small Time Buccaneer. It does run Patches. You want them early. Expect them to die. It's all good. Swashbuckler, though, I find pulls Patches out far more often for me than Small Time Buccaneer because I'm usually mulliganing for Swashbuckler. Swashbuckler is a great activator for SI7 agent. It's a great activator for Edwin Van Cleef, especially if you happen to be up against another rogue, because 9 times out of 10, when I Swashbuckler another rogue, I usually get a prep. So it's all good. Van Cleef, of course, if you can get him out early, there have been times with this deck I've gotten a turn 2 8/8 Van Cleef and just beat face. So it's a lot of fun. Now the card in this deck that you may not be used to seeing, and I remember catching a lot of heat when this set came out because I said this card was good, and everybody else said, no, the Rogue Legend sucks. The Rogue Legendary sucks. It's no good. Well, now Shaku's starting to pop up around, and people are seeing that. Come on, say it, guys. I was
Shaku was okay. It's not bad.
Yeah. So Rosica
So
was
the only
Come on,
people that
say it.
knew that
Say
Shaku was good was yourself and life coach.
Say it. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. I'm in good
Even
company there.
even Super JJ doesn't think it's good, and life coach makes him put him in the decks.
Yep. Well, Max thought he was good, and Max used him and abused him and won a THQ qualifier. So we're gonna
Now,
take that as proof positive.
I will say this about Shaku is I'm not a big rogue player, but he was the first legend I opened up. No, he was the second, Finja being the first, because I have terrible luck with my packs. I actually played him, and I enjoyed Shaku. I thought he was very effective. He was basically a free card draw and usually got you something effective. Now, I didn't agree that he was going to be good before the release, but the first week of the release, I liked him. I didn't continue playing because I don't play much rogue.
Well,
Okay.
one of the things that you're going to notice about this particular version of Rogue that you're not seeing on the current ladder is, number one, there are no conceals. So when you lay down your Gadgetzan turn, you expect to get all you're going to get out of that Gadgetzan turn because you don't expect that Gadgetzan to be around the next turn.
Because as Max,
So
the creator of this deck, says in chat, conceal is for the weak. Okay, go ahead.
And the other thing that you're going to notice is that there's no questing adventurers. There's no questing adventurers because your finisher is actually Leroy Jenkins with a cold blood on him, or two, or a huge Edwin Van Cleef. So you're wearing your opponent down. You're wearing your opponent down. You want value out of patches. You want value out of small time Buccaneer. You want to get them down below 20 into the high teens. Try not to use your eviscerates to clear. That's what you're relying on. Swashbuckler and Shaku, you're getting those spells. Proper use of SI Agent, proper trading with Tomb Pillager, which gives you the coin. You know, like I said, your Gadgetzan Auctioneer is meant to draw you the cards and set you up. But in the end, he's a trade piece. So you really want to get your opponents down into that 15 to 14 range. You want to Leroy Jenkins with a cold blood and finish him off with an eviscerate. So it's bursty, and it takes a lot of thought, and it takes a lot of practice to get it right. And I will say that of all the road decks I've played, this one is a lot like painting with like a normal road deck is like painting with oil. There's you can make a mistake and you're just like, oh, you know what, I'll take a little ether and I can correct this mistake and go back in, and it's be like you never did it, right? And you've got all the time in the world. You feel like I can control this, I can control this. This rogue is like painting with acrylic. It dries really fast, and when you screw up, you screw up. So you either have to work it into your masterpiece, or you just have to throw the tapestry away. One way or another, it's going down. So
I was thinking it was more like
this.
I like the analogy. It's more like painting with an Uzi. Just shooting the canvas and just demolishing it.
If a normal rogue is an Uzi, this is a sniper shot.
Yeah.
You are working up to one shot. You get your opponent where you want them, and then you line up your shot. You take it. If it works, you're golden. If it doesn't, you're done.
Yeah. All right. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this deck played. So, guys, do you have any last thoughts from today's show? Make them brief. Sorosio, go ahead.
I just want to thank chat for coming out. Thank for the patrons for coming out this weekend. We got a bunch of people in chat tonight. I appreciate it. To our new viewers, thank you for coming, and please just send us your reviews either through iTunes. Send us your emails. Tell us what you think of the show.
All right, Versika.
Thanks for coming out. I hope you guys stay tuned. This is a great road deck. Just watch and learn from my mistakes. Watch and learn from my successes. It's going to be a fun day on the ladder. I can promise you that. The first day always delivers.
That's right. So, all right. All I've got to add is if you are interested in being entered for our giveaways, or if you're interested in playing in our next Hero Power Patron Invitational, you can do that by going over to patreon.com/Hero Power and becoming a patron of the show. All of the money goes right back into the show, into helping us to get the things we need to make this show better and to give back to you guys, because we love doing what we do. So, all right, guys, if you are joining us on Twitch or YouTube, please stay tuned for the live play portion. If you are listening via our audio podcast, we'd like to thank you for joining us at this time. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at HeroPower_cast, and you can find all of our past episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/ECMMOGamers, or on our website at HeroPowerHS.com. And as always, guys, we'll see you again next week.
And don't forget to use your hero power.
Alrighty. Well, while we set this up to play a few games on the ladder, Versika, why don't you tell us a little more about our friends at Viforce?
All right. So at the start of the show, I was talking about having a conversation where I was talking to one of our listeners, and he had found what he thought was a better price on a new system at a different place. And in the top of the ad, I'd said, hey, I looked at this, and the specs were not quite as good as what I had in my machine, and it was $200 more expensive, the same price as the next machine up from mine. One of the other things that I wanted to bring up, though, is this guy, he kind of talked about the cases and how, or it wasn't actually the guy that I was having that conversation with. It was a guy listening in on the conversation. So he kind of chimed in. He was just like, yeah, because I love those cases. They all light up. They all look really cool. You can choose your LEDs to go in. And I'm just like, Viforce will also let you choose your LEDs. And one of the things I like about Viforce's cases is that they are made local. So local to the Knoxville area, these are made by a small business. So one of the things that you're doing when you buy a Viforce machine is you're also supporting a local business owner, small business owner, who is making cases just for Viforce. So if you're looking for your new gaming machine and some of what I said today has intrigued you, maybe you don't know a lot about the tech specs, or maybe you just know what you want to play, make sure to go to ViforceGaming.com, click on the Contact Us page, ask these guys your questions. They love answering tech questions about their stuff, and they're going to shoot straight. So contact them, or heck, even contact us. We'll put you in touch with them, or we'll even relay the question for you. Just there's no such thing as a dumb question. Have in mind what you want, and just ask, and they'll point you in the right direction, one way or the other.
All right, let's get this game on. I'm looking forward to seeing this deck.
I do want to clarify, when Versika mentioned, it was a clarification by Viforce, Versika mentioned the cases are made locally. What he meant was they're modded locally. All the modifications done to them are done locally in the East Tennessee area.
Yep.
Oh, everyone's wanting you to open pack. Go ahead and open the pack before we start. That'll give me time to get in.
All right, opening the pack before the play. This is new.
That's a first.
Well,
this is new.
Well, that's because the last couple of times you've forgotten to open a pack.
I have.
That's right.
So let's see. Eagle Horn Bow was my rare. Sea
epic.
Giant was my epic. All right,
that's a good pack.
That was my Tavern
was.
Brawl pack. So, all right.
See, it was good.
And chat
Good
is happy.
to open early. Chat is happy. All right, I'm queuing up.
All right.
Sea Giant. No, Sea Giants. I like Sea Giant. I like all the Giants, including the Molten Giant. But you'll hear more about that maybe in the next couple weeks from me.
All right. So our first opponent is a mage. So what are we looking for, Versika, in our mulligans for this deck?
Not what I've got here.
All right, so we've got Gadgets and Auctioneer, Preparation, and Fan of Knives.
Yeah, I'm going to throw all of this back. Number one, because it's a mage. I'm not going to need prep till later. Gadgets and till later. Fan of Knives is going to do me no good whatsoever. Because even if it isn't Reno Mage, it's going to be Tempo Mage. And Fan of Knives, at the very best, is I'm just going to cycle it for card draw. I might as well throw it back and get the card draw now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we get Patches, Edwin, and Azure Drake.
Well,
Yikes.
Patches is never what you want to see in your opening hand. So
No.
we'll just go ahead and throw him out there.
We can get 2 points of damage off of him, probably.
Yeah.
Before he fire blasts it.
So I just want to
he
bring
might
up,
even coin a fire blast.
That's true. He might.
played 6 games since the reset. This is my 4th legend player.
Now,
Alright, just
I
gonna
want to
hit him with
clarify.
Patches again and hit him with my dagger too. Any damage I can get early is going to be good damage.
If you see somebody with the legend card back, don't get intimidated because I have the legend card back. I've been legend one time, and it was back in March of last year. So just because they have legend card back does not mean they're like top 100 legend every month.
No. I've just been seeing it a lot more recently. I'm wondering
True.
if my overall MMR has placed me starting me a little higher than it used to.
Well, he's rank 18, which means if he was legend this month, he starts at 15. So he may not have gotten legend this month.
So, what do you think about backstab, prep, Fan of Knives into Edwin?
Well, that would be awesome if I wasn't facing a Reno deck going into a Polymorph turn.
That's
Okay.
true.
I'm probably a turn late for that because I'd like to make sure that I get that at least one pop in with it.
Mm-hmm.
The water elemental will shut me down. It'll hit me this next turn, and then until I get rid of it, it's going to keep me on ice.
Yeah,
But-
and next turn you can only do 5 points of damage with Azure Drake, Backstab, Prep, Fan.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking of doing is just preempting and going ahead and hitting it. I'll take another 3 point of damage, but at least I make it capable of being
You won't
killed
be able
next
to
turn
backstab
by
it
the
You
next
won't be
turn.
able to backstab
No.
it next turn.
Right, but well, never mind. I was going to say I'm not really planning on backstabbing it.
Gotcha.
I was planning on putting the Azure Drake down, prepping into the Fan of Knives, and then he was probably going to run it into my Azure Drake. I was going to
That's
sacrifice the Azure
fair.
Drake.
Okay.
That's a tough spot, though. Having that coined out water elemental on 3 is
Yeah, and it's
tough against Rogue.
and we
And this is
don't have a
this
great
is one of
hand.
those this is one of those matchups where the more you talk about something, like the more I start to explain it, the harder it is to actually execute it.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be turns where I just execute and then explain my
Explain.
line of reasoning on his turn.
That's probably a good idea. I do like Shaku here. I do like Shaku a lot because he's going to give us some good tools from the mage.
And we now know that's not a mirror entity.
Yes. So this next turn, I'm going to go ahead and Azure Drake and backstab the Water Elemental.
Cobble Courier, that sacrificial pack's not going to do you any good, sir. We're playing Rogue. Oh, wait, sorry. Forgot Nibble Swaps in chat. Don't want to trigger him.
Cobble Courier.
It's a lot to get rid of this guy,
Yeah,
but
it cripples us really bad.
yeah.
Yeah, Max says it's Big Edwin time now.
Well, can't get him out now because the mana, but
But yeah.
well,
Okay.
that's not terrible.
That's not terrible.
That'll
I'm still
finish
gonna
it off.
It,
You could prep and fan and clear the board right now.
Yeah, but I want to say that for Edwin. I think I'm going to hold off one more turn.
You're not even going to Forbidden Flame that?
I guess I probably don't need to be too greedy. I'll go ahead and flame it. I was about to get greedy there.
And it'll give us 2 more points, but it'll also save us 3 damage. Okay, this is a setup turn for him. That's good. Is he going to leave it alive? No.
He was thinking about it.
He was. I think he still is thinking about it.
Yeah.
That makes it a good. That makes it a good prep fan target.
Yeah, because fan kills it now.
Yeah.
But we're going to backstab it anyways. Okay, prep into fan. Do we go ahead and SI7 agent?
I think so, yeah.
We can even prep Eviscerate and get some damage in while we have the Azure Drake out. I'm extremely scared. I like the Cold Blood on the SI7 agent because it spreads out the threats a little bit.
All right.
If he has polymorph, it's getting polymorph.
That's a big Ed one.
But I'm putting him on polymorph or Kazakus.
And even on Kazakus, he's going to take it. I don't think there's the 1 mana spell that can target it directly.
So here's what I'm thinking. There's 17 cards left in his deck. I was actually figuring on 18. So the chances of him having it in his hand, 1 in 12.
Yeah, and did he cast his Cabal Courier spell?
He did. Oh,
okay.
No, he didn't.
So he could have gotten enough Cabal Courier. I know that it's a common snag.
Sylvanas, he doesn't have a way to kill it, which
pop the block.
Which means we've got him on Ice Block. So
you pop it at 1 even. He pretty much has to have Reno next turn. I like Swashbuckling for a possible way to clear the Sylvanas, like maybe Polymorph.
Well, the other thing that it does,
it's not bad.
The other thing that it does is gives another possible target.
Yeah, before he could ping off the Azure Drake, then run into SI7 agent. Now he has to find a way to get rid of Swashbuckler or risks taking it. See, he has to have Reno here. Yeah.
And he's got it.
And you think he's going to go for the 50-50?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I would.
Oh, come on, Swashbuckler. Yes!
Yes!
Oh, my gosh, that's so awesome. Ooh. We got Patches coming out. So we're going to take half of his health.
We played Patches. Yeah, we had Patches in our opening hand.
Oh, that's right. We had Patches. That's right.
A little bit of BM here. Sorry, I couldn't help it.
We have our own ice barrier up, and what can he do here? Because even Alex Straza is not a good spot here. He can't use it offensively. Defensively doesn't really give him much. He has to get rid of Edwin or he loses.
Dirty Rat.
So
into Doomsayer.
Right.
Smart.
So we need to draw a
I
sap.
have to get a sap.
Sap is the one is our one out, right?
Yep.
I'm trying to think. Is it Leroy? We can win with Leroy. Nah, that's not good.
No.
Get the 1 damage in. Leroy was a possible out.
Yeah.
But see, now we have Gadget. If we draw a spell next turn, just about any spell, we're going to have a pretty good turn. Refreshment Vendor.
Actually, at 28 health, I feel like we've got a couple of turns. I wouldn't mind seeing Tomb Pillager next.
I don't know if we have a couple of turns now.
No, we don't. Another Swashbuckler would be great.
Well, there's the sap one turn
That's not
too late.
bad. Well, I mean, we can draw a card off of it.
Yes, we can start drawing cards with the auctioneer.
If we draw into a person, it's over. What's he got?
I wouldn't say it's over because
15. He can do 20.
We're at 24.
We really have one more.
He's not going to do 20 because we're going to take Antonidas off the board.
I was saying if we didn't auctioneer and sap, we waited.
I think we have to.
Well, we know he's got 2 fireballs that he just got from.
Right. So that's what I was thinking. 2 fireballs. He's already used Frostbolt.
But he'll get more fireballs if we leave it on the board.
I understand that. Okay, I'll show you what I'm talking about. If we draw a minion, we're dead. It's over. Because now we can't stop it next turn, and I have nothing to feed the auctioneer.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't see just waiting a turn changing it at all. I mean, at least we had a chance if we drew into a spell. Where if we just waited a turn, we're doomed the following turn anyways.
Raza, really?
So if we had waited, we would have the sap and the counterfeit coin as a chance to draw into something else.
Yeah, but he would have done 20 points of damage to us and had 2 more, possibly 3 fireballs as advance.
DeSharmo says we'd already played both our preps, and Nibbleswap says if only we had Conceal.
Hey, this worked for Max. It's got to work for us.
All right, going to game 2.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I don't necessarily argue your logic there. I just don't think doing nothing that turn would change the situation if we drew a minion. If we had drawn a spell, then of course our situation's better.
Well, remember, as they're pointing out, without a conceal, you only get 1 shot with your auctioneer. Drawing 1 card with your auctioneer is never good.
Yeah.
You're never going to win drawing 1 card with your auctioneer.
All right, so we're throwing back all of the cards for this hand, and we've got Backstab, Eviscerate, Blood Mage, Thalnos. So that's not bad. We've got some damage. We've got some card cycle in the Blood Mage.
2 straight games without having the coin either. You would like to split that. You'd like to have the coin at least half of your games.
Yeah. That's a whole nother debate that could go on for hours on the benefit of the coin and not having the coin.
Well, the benefit of the coin in this deck is huge. I mean, you can make arguments for other decks and about win percentages and such, but having the coin in this deck as an activator is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, the turn 2 Totem Golem, I'm not going to miss that.
Yeah, me either.
Good way to deal with it, though.
Yeah, it'll eat you alive. So Blood Mage, Thalnos, into Backstab, into the Dagger is... I mean, that's about as good as you get, and then you get to cycle the Thalnos.
Second Totem Golem? No, Hero Power.
Oh,
no, because he was overloaded, and we get patches.
Bad patches. Stay in the deck.
What is this, Trinity series? You get patches every game?
That was drawing into patches is a total misplay. Come on, Versika.
Yeah.
We still get to clear the air totem.
Yes.
Now, the Fire Elemental pickup is great here.
Yes.
It'll help you deal with Feral Spirits. It'll help you deal with Flame Tongue Totem. I love it.
Mad at Arms in chat says incoming 4 mana 7/7. No, it's a Feral Spirit.
So you can go 2 lines of play here. You can play the Azure Direct, draw another card, and kind of hold the Swashbuckler back to see what else he puts down. or you can go a little more aggressive. Go ahead and use the Swashbuckler now. Try to draw into something that can take care of these two, or help you clear one of them.
I like the Swashbuckler play because we can Fire Elemental one of them next turn, and if we Swashbuckler and we don't draw anything, we can at least eviscerate one of these now if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I prefer the Swashbuckler play as well. Wind Fury will help later, but not right now.
Wow. Leroy, Cold Blood, Wind Fury.
And honestly, I'm saying I think we should go ahead and smash into one of these and hope
But
that
leave it at one?
Hope that he doesn't get a healing stream totem, because we're going to take care of one of them with the fire elemental anyway.
Gotcha. So this sets up. It doesn't allow him to trade a minion. Well, he could use the 2/3 if he wanted, but he's playing into our plans. I like that.
There's
Hey,
7/7.
Surprise, surprise. But he almost will have to run the 7/7 into the fire elemental, won't he?
If
He'll
he,
probably
if
hit
he
us.
wants to clear it, yeah.
He'll
Or
probably
do
hit
we
us first.
Or do we fire elemental prep and eviscerate? Fire elemental the flame breath and then eviscerate it. Because he's gonna be on 3 mana next turn.
Yeah.
Desharmo in chat says, "Man, Blizzard needs to upgrade their AI. This innkeeper keeps roping." Our opponent is the single in keeper.
I don't know. Never mind. That's a poorly stated joke. I'll hold that for later.
I'll go ahead and remove that other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so he has to use a lightning bolt or better.
Lightning bolt or spell powered up claws. There's.
He could Jade Lightning into it.
He's
Or
gonna
he
throw
could
another
just do
feral
another
spirit.
two Feral Spirit.
Yeah.
He's going for the face game.
Yep. Lightning bolt to the face.
Yep.
Right.
We could actually Wind Fury this and clear 2 of those and still keep our fire elemental alive.
Well, some of these run Bloodlust now,
Yeah.
so I don't think that's a bad option.
Yeah, I'm thinking Azure Drake, Wind Fury.
And eviscerate?
We could also, though, clear one with the Eviscerate. We could Azure Drake and Eviscerate one, clear the other with Fire Elemental, and that leaves our Fire Elemental at 3 health.
That's true. Yeah.
It gives us the same.
Yeah, gives us the
reach.
same reach.
The same. You're right.
I would rather
board.
save the Wind Fury to see if I could put it on Leroy or
I
Van
agree.
Cleef.
Well, there's a Cold Blood. Or just put it on a fire elemental he doesn't kill.
Yeah.
With Cold Blood. Oh, 20 damage. Make it happen.
If we were to draw into our second Cold Blood next turn and he was to leave that up, it could be ugly.
Yeah.
No,
I would imagine that he'll clear this though.
He wants to preserve the 2/3.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame.
Oh.
So close. So close.
Could have been great.
It might be great. So if he doesn't put up another taunt and doesn't kill the Tomb Pillager and we draw Leroy, we have lethal.
Yes.
Wait. Yeah, we'll have just enough mana. Oh.
Not now.
That wrecks it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wrecks it.
Think we need to throw out the auctioneer and draw, but
I agree, which is why I'm going to kill off the pillager so we get the coin.
okay. Yeah, Max says double lava burst incoming.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive that's what's about to happen. That's why he's been pushing face, because he has 2 lava bursts. Oh, Leroy, why do you forsake us? We have chicken. Wait, no, I ate all the chicken. Never mind, we don't have chicken.
So it's your fault.
It's my fault. Once again, it's my fault.
Yeah. We didn't
Yeah.
really draw into anything that helps us.
Nope.
No. And we queued against Shaku.
Rogue is such a fickle class. That's the reason I don't play it.
One lava burst. Well, he's just gonna do the one. Okay.
One
He's being
lava
nice.
burst, and yeah. All right. So that's
2 fast games.
Yep, that's gonna do it.
Normally, I wouldn't say let's play a third, but we have time. And since it is that first day of the season, I'd like to play one more.
All right.
You want justification.
Chat, you're in
No.
for a third game. Versika wants
No.
to play one more.
I agree.
Not
I want
justification.
justification.
I feel like this deck is, like I said, it's very intricate, and I know I'm not playing it quite as well as Max plays it, but the more you see the interactions with Rogue, hopefully the more comfortable you become in playing it. And goodness gracious, what I wouldn't do to get to go second.
The
Right.
luxury that Max had also is he was in a tournament and could at least see what classes his opponent was bringing, so
Right.
he could time when to queue up with Rogue.
Ducharmo points out how much Versika loves our chat because he's forsaking a half hour of sleep to play one more
That's
game.
right.
That's true. It's almost pumpkin time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Matt
is.
at Arms says Versika is going to turn into a sparkle vampire if he stays up too late.
Oh.
They're,
Man
they're-
at Arms has been teasing jokes like this in chat. I've been ignoring them for Vasika's sake.
Yeah, there might have been some talk about how in our patron Discord earlier about how big a fan Versika is of the Twilight series.
So you have Swashbuckler.
Way to bring it back on course, Zero.
That's what I'm here for.
Hey, and
Ooh.
That's going to be handy.
yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Prep into Blood Fury Potion. That's almost as good as Cold Blood. Almost. And can get us a decent sized Van Cleef.
Yep.
Oh, for a counterfeit coin.
So, what Avantes isn't telling you guys about I suppose
I knew he couldn't keep quiet about it.
Twilight affection is that I actually did a paper on the myth of vampires, and what I said was that her interpretation isn't really any different than anyone else's, whereas a farmer of that era could see a sparkling person and think they were on fire because they had no point of reference. I mean, these are people that still thought their crops depended on water gods.
I'm loving the discussion, but we're missing the fact that I believe we queued into a Demon Zulak.
I think you are correct. So
Do we have to Blood Fury Potion this down? I mean, I hate to waste the Blood Fury Potion, but
not
I
if I'm
mean-
willing to go to 20.
Okay.
But what turn does that? So I'm worried about Imp Gang Boss next turn that we have to deal with into the
Chat's saying prep potion cleave.
Yeah, I think that I am prep potioning Cleef.
Yeah, because he's probably got Imp Gang Boss for next turn, and that will slow him down from making that decision.
6 is a little harder for him to deal with too, so
Yeah. I think
just working through your plays. Working
6
through
is
my
good.
plays.
I'm just so worried about that demon, that one that buffs all the demon +1/+1, the 5/4, I think it is.
Mhm.
Well, I don't want to leave any demons on the board too long. I definitely don't want to leave that on the board. Oh, 2 of them. He coined it out too. Oh,
That's
don't hit the make leave. Don't hit it.
That's gonna hurt.
Oh, dodged a bullet there.
It's disco lock.
This is crazy. Okay, so we can at least
Backstab SI7.
Yeah, but what are we SI7?
I mean, it's not gonna. Yeah, he's still gonna kill the Van Cleef.
We're just gonna push face. Okay.
Yeah,
I like this.
that.
I like this because this makes him react to our board, and he's not quite to a Doomguard turn,
Right.
which would be to then draw 4 cards and have a 5/7 charge. We just have
he's
to beat him
actually
by that.
expended quite a bit to get rid of the Van Cleef when it's all said and
Yeah.
done. And I've
'Cause-
got 2 Tomb Pillagers waiting in the wings.
He had to run both Malkazar imps now, so he has no benefit of draw. I go face here.
Oh yeah. At this point, we're so far ahead. We have to make. I mean,
Yeah.
he needs to clear.
It looked bad for a second, but the Fist of Jaraxxus went our way. Oh, is he using that to clear?
He's gonna have to. If he doesn't, he's dead.
Well, he's one. We're one off. Tomb Pillager.
I've got lethal.
Yeah, that's lethal.
Oh yeah. Prep into SI, into Dagger.
Yep.
So I was trying to figure out the mana for Dagger. I was thinking of using Tomb Pillager somehow. Okay, that's good. I like it.
All
And
right.
thanks for the lethal with the whelps. So here we won. That was I like that deck we played against though. That was pretty cool. And see, this is what I like about the meta right now is that if we want to go ahead and get into final thoughts, I'll go ahead and start.
Go ahead. Take off.
People are finding ways to get creative to try to combat the meta. And we saw in that case, they're doing it without Reno, without Jades, without Pirates. They're doing it using the Demon package that came out in the last few sets and also some of the cards in Gadget Zan, I assume. Obviously, we didn't see the whole deck. I like where the meta is now. The only thing I don't like is the oppressive feeling you get from the Pirate package, specifically Small Time Buccaneer.
Yeah. All right, Versika.
I didn't really see much tonight that made me feel like I didn't want to play. The Reno Mage, it was Reno Mage, but it's still beatable. Reno Mage is not unbeatable. You just have to have consistent push and not overreach like I did. But with Shaman, that Shaman was not the super aggro that you've been used to seeing, and then of course you got the Demon Lock. So really, while it feels like Pirate is pretty oppressive and you may queue into several in a row, I think the vast majority of people are looking for something else, so they're playing something else. Don't give up on the meta just yet. I do think it will shift slightly before we go into the new expansion. But I think while the meta hasn't exactly been solved, I do think that it's solved enough that if you really think about counter meta, if you want to climb, now is the time to climb with counter meta.
Okay. Cool. Well, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please email us at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com. Please, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button below on YouTube, or give us a follow on Twitch to be alerted as to when we go live. And for more details on becoming a patron, check out patreon.com/heropower. And until next week, guys, good gaming.
Bye, guys. Have fun.